HOA officers entered my property armed. Too bad I own a legal .50 caliber mounted on my porch. Have you ever wondered what happens when a power-hungry HOA board meets a homeowner who knows their rights and isn't afraid to stand their ground? In a quiet suburban neighborhood, where manicured lawns and cookie-cutter houses painted a safe shade of beige set the scene, a storm was brewing. Karen, the HOA president, ruled with an iron fist, her clipboard a scepter and her bylaws a holy scripture. But when she and her self-appointed security team crossed a line storming onto Jake's property, armed and uninvited, they had no idea they were about to face a reckoning that would shake their perfect little community to its core. Jake was no ordinary homeowner. A retired veteran with a sharp mind and a no-nonsense attitude. He'd moved to this HOA-governed neighborhood in Pennsylvania for peace, not petty power struggles. He kept his lawn trimmed, his house painted, and his life private. But Karen had other plans. She'd been eyeing Jake's property for months, convinced his modest upgradesa security camera here, a reinforced fence there were eyesores that violated her sacred covenants. Her latest obsession? A rumor that Jake owned firearms, including a legally registered .50 caliber rifle, which he kept secured in his home. Karen, fueled by her disdain for anything she couldn't control, decided to take matters into her own hands. One sunny afternoon, she led her security team, 2 board members with concealed carry permits and a chip on their shoulders, onto Jake's property without notice, claiming they had the right to inspect for violations. What Karen didn't know was that Jake wasn't just a homeowner. He was a man who'd spent years defending his freedom and knew the law better than most lawyers. As she and her goons marched across his lawn, Jake was in his garage, polishing the very .50 caliber rifle in question, not mounted on his porch, as neighborhood gossip suggested, but safely stored. He'd heard the rumors, spread by a nosy neighbor named Linda, who'd seen him cleaning his firearms one evening through her binoculars. Jake had laughed it off at first, but when he spotted Karen's crew through his security camera, guns holstered but hands twitching, his blood ran cold. This wasn't an inspection. It was an invasion. The truth was, Karen's inspection was a power play, pure and simple. She'd been humiliated at the last HOA meeting when Jake called her out for selective enforcement, fining him for a slightly overgrown hedge while ignoring her cronies' violations. Now, she was out for blood, armed with a flimsy excuse about community safety. According to the HOA bylaws, board members could inspect properties for violations, but only with proper notice and never by entering private homes without consent. Karen, however, believed she was above such rules. She'd rallied her team with tales of Jake's dangerous arsenal, painting him as a threat to the neighborhood's pristine image. The real kicker? Pennsylvania law, backed by Section 202.021 of Texas's Property Code, a precedent often referenced in HOA disputes, explicitly protected Jake's right to possess firearms in his home, and no HOA could override that. But there was a twist no one saw coming. Linda, the nosy neighbor who'd sparked this mess, wasn't just a gossip. She was Karen's sister-in-law, and she'd been feeding Karen exaggerated stories about Jake to curry favor. Linda had her own agenda. She wanted Jake's corner lot for her son, who was looking to buy in the neighborhood. By painting Jake as a gun-toting menace, she hoped to pressure him into selling. What Linda didn't know was that Jake had recorded her snooping on his property weeks earlier, catching her peering over his fence with those binoculars. That footage, combined with his security system's crystal-clear video of Karen's armed posse, was about to turn the tables. The confrontation erupted when Jake stepped onto his porch, rifle in hand but pointed safely at the ground. "You're trespassing," he said, his voice calm but steel-edged. Karen froze, her face a mix of shock and indignation. Her security team hesitated, hands hovering over their holsters, but they weren't stupid enough to draw. Jake's .50 caliber wasn't mounted on his porch, that was just Linda's embellished gossip, but its mere presence was enough to make them rethink their bravado. "You have no right to be here," Jake continued, citing the HOA bylaws and Pennsylvania trespassing laws with the precision of a courtroom lawyer. "And those guns? You're not cops. You're not even security guards. You're just bullies with permits." Karen tried to bluster, claiming her board had authority to enforce community standards. But Jake was ready. He pulled out his phone and played the security footage of Linda's snooping, revealing her as the source of the rumors. The crowd of neighbors, drawn by the commotion, gasped as Linda's face appeared on the screen. Karen's confidence crumbled as Jake laid out the law. HOAs couldn't ban firearms in private homes, and her armed stunt was a clear violation of state law and HOA rules. One of the board members, a quiet man named Tom who'd been dragged along reluctantly, broke ranks. "Karen, this is too far," he muttered, holstering his weapon and stepping back. The crowd murmured in agreement, their trust in Karen's leadership evaporating. Karen's empire of control collapsed in real time. The neighbors, once cowed by her fines and threats, turned on her. They demanded an emergency HOA meeting, where Jake presented his evidence: the bylaws, the footage, and a letter from his lawyer outlining Karen's violations. Linda, exposed as a scheming instigator, tried to deflect, but her credibility was shot. The board voted to remove Karen as president, and Tom, the turncoat, stepped up to lead a fairer, more transparent HOA. Karen faced legal consequences too. Jake filed a trespassing complaint, and the local police, unimpressed by her community safety excuse, issued a warning. Linda's dreams of snagging Jake's property fizzled as her son backed out, embarrassed by the scandal. In the end, Jake's stand wasn't just about guns or property lines. It was about reclaiming the right to live free from petty tyrants. He didn't fire a shot, didn't need to. His knowledge, his resolve, and a well-placed security camera were enough to topple Karen's reign. The neighborhood felt lighter, freer, as if a cloud had lifted. Jake went back to his quiet life, his lawn trimmed and his rights intact, while the HOA learned a hard lesson. Power without accountability is a recipe for ruin. What do you think? Did Jake handle this the right way, or should he have gone further to hold Karen accountable? Share your thoughts below, because in a world of Karens, standing up for what's right is a story worth telling.